Okay, I wanted to show you a quilt that it's a quilt top that my mother-in-law made. This is one of two that we found in her belongings back in April. And this one she made with all stripes and plaids and tiny checks. And if you can tell right here, this brown check, the yellow check, and then there is this blue one. It's a really tiny check there. That is all one block, and she made several of those blocks. That's how she made the quilt. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 across and 5 down. No, 4 down. 4 across and 4 down. And then she did a border. Let's see if we can see over here. Right there, she did 2 borders there with just strips, probably pieces that she had left over, and she put that all around the quilt. So there is a wide range of fabrics in here, and I think she was just using up the scraps that she had, and she just you know, got together a bunch of the checks and stripes and plaids that she had and put them all together. So I'm going to put this on the machine and I'm going to quilt it, and I'm just going to do an overall on this one. I could do something custom on it, but I think I'll just do an overall. I haven't done an overall in a long time, and I now have to figure out a design for this. And somebody had asked me if I could do a video on how to do some overall quilting that doesn't require pantograph or a pattern of some kind, just how to do it freehand from the front of the machine. So I'm going to think about this for a little bit, and then I'll put it on the machine and show you what I'm doing with it. Okay, what I decided to do with this quilt, since it's, you know, all plaid and checks, it's kind of a masculine looking quilt. So I didn't want to put anything in here like feathers or flowers, or, you know, leaves would probably be okay, but I didn't want anything feminine in here. And since it's all geometric, I think I'm going to just keep going with that plan, but I'm going to switch it around a little bit. I want to do an overall that's a pretty good size. I don't want this to be really small quilting in here, and but I want something that's going to go pretty quick. So what I'm going to do is kind of a meander type design, but I'm going to do it with boxes, but I'm going to round the edges of the boxes. Okay, so I'm going to start at the side, just round off my corners. Try my best to round them off. It's not going to hurt if they're not all rounded off. So this is the kind of thing that I'm wanting to do. Something that's not going to take a long time. And something that I can kind of go around the whole quilt without stopping and starting. And I'm going to practice this a little bit until I kind of get the hang of it, because I'm still wanting to do this, square things off. Of course, when I get the machine out, you know, that'll be a different story, but I hope you can see that. This is kind of a dark area of the quilt, but anyway, I'm going to put this plastic away and then get started and see how this goes. Okay, I'm going to start off in manual mode, and I've got this at 10 stitches per inch. Normally I do 12, but I'm going to do this at 10. And I am using a neutral thread. We're going to just start and see how this goes. But one thing you may notice is that, you know, I'm tracing over the boxes. I'm not doing like a meander where you don't cross over anything. I've got lines crossing all over the place. So I'm going to continue working on this, and then I'll show you kind of a close-up of some of the quilting that I've done. Okay, and I have the quilt all quilted, and it's up on my design wall. It's actually hanging from a curtain rod in front of my design wall. And I know you can't see the details from here, but I'll get closer here in a minute and you can see those. But this gives you an idea of an overall view of the quilt, and it is about, I think it was like 80 by 90, and it has a flannel back, and I used an 80/20 batting, so it's not real heavy, though it's not near as heavy as I thought it would be. I thought it would be a lot heavier than it is. But a lot of these fabrics in here are not cotton. A lot of them are polyester. There's a couple that are like a twill weave, almost a denim type fabric, but not very many. But all of the ginghams that you see, especially in the outer border on the left, those are all a polyester gingham. So, and there's a lot of that in the quilt. There's several pieces in there. One thing I noticed when I was quilting this was the outer borders that she did 2 on the sides and 3 on the top and the bottom. So that's, made it rectangular instead of square. And this may be a turning 20 block. I can't remember. That's been a while. That was like early 2000s when the turning 20 blocks were real popular, and I remember quilting a lot of those quilts for customers, but I can't remember if this is the pattern or not, but that's what it reminds me of, is the turning 20. So I'm going to move the camera and give you a closer look of the quilting in here. Okay, and here you can see a little bit more of the quilting, and if I go up here to this yellow section and zoom in on that, you can see how I just kind of crossed over those blocks. It's kind of like it's just like a square meander, only that rule where you don't cross lines, I just threw that out the window and decided I wanted to cross lines. So gives it a geometric look. And then here's another block that's a little bit easier to see the quilting in. And I didn't have a certain pattern to follow. I just went by instinct and just filled things in as I went. The thing is, I had to tell myself to relax and not tighten up, because when the longer I quilt at any one time, the tinier my quilting gets. It gets tighter, closer together, and I didn't want that in this quilt. I wanted it fairly loose. And I know in some areas, like down here, like down in there, that's a bit closer together than in other places of the quilt. So I was starting to get tired, and I don't know why, but when I get tired, instead of getting looser and going faster, I tighten up and my quilting gets tighter. So when I see myself doing that, I have to remind myself to loosen up, or that tells me it's time to take a break and do something else, and then come back to it. So anyway, it isn't perfect. My goal was to, round off the corners of those boxes, and there are places where I just didn't do that, and there are places where my lines aren't real straight, which ideally, they would be, horizontal and vertical, completely horizontal and vertical, but they aren't. Some of them are slanted, and I think that's okay. It's a little more organic this way, and I kind of like this design. And there's some in that peachy orange gingham there. You can see that, and the blue stripe below. So I think it looks good on a man's quilt. So I have to bind it. Let me show you the back. Okay, here's the back of the quilt. It's a red, white, and blue flannel, or red, cream, and blue, I would think more. Actually, I believe she used some of the same fabric to make my father-in-law's shirt out of, because I remember seeing him wear a shirt with at least a flannel that's very close to this. So I think she had some left over and went ahead and made him a shirt. So I think that's pretty nice. As far as the binding, I don't know what I'm going to bind it with. I do have enough of the backing, the flannel backing, to bind it with. But with all of the plaid in here, I think I might want to use a solid fabric for the binding. I don't think I want to do that, but I'll have to see what I have in my stash to make binding with and kind of go from there. But I think this will make a nice utilitarian quilt, and maybe one of the men in the family would like this one. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And in the meantime, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.